Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing this very simple coffee cup animation of a spinning cup with the steam at the top. So let's get right into it to learn how to do it. So this tutorial will be split up into two parts. One for the creation of the coffee mug, and the second for the creation of the steam and the animating of the two objects. We're going to take in low poly, because it's for beginners, so we'll take it step by step really slowly. But if you're already a proficient Blender user, you can always skip this intro and other explanations during the video using the timestamps in the chapters and the description below. So for those who don't know, Blender is a 3D animating software for creation of 3D objects and the animating of it. And you can download it for free at blender.org without any extra payments, which is why I like using Blender. It's similar to PowerPoint, it's all free, and you can go to download and just press on download Blender and just get the newest version, and you can download it for Windows, Macs, Linuxes, etc. So it's basically for any computer. So once you've done that, just launch up Blender and it'll just take a bit of time. So in Blender there's a lot of shortcut keys, so I will turn on my screencast keys right over here just to help you be able to see what I'm doing. So there we go. As I was saying, there's a lot of shortcuts, so when we're going through this tutorial, I'll try and say everything I'm doing, but if I don't, you can just pause it and have a look over here, because it'll show stuff that I'm doing. So for example, if I'm pressing N, J, whatever, it'll come up over here, and this mouse also will show what I'm pressing, so that'll be left mouse, middle mouse, right mouse. Okay, so here is our default setting for the world, the 3D world. And you might find it a bit of a struggle to move around right now if you've never used Blender before, because it's a bit weird. You have to use your middle mouse button just to move around. So you can see down here, I'm using my middle mouse. And there's three objects that start in a default setting, which is the default cube and camera. So we will change the light around a bit, but mostly it's fine apart from the default cube. We can just delete the default cube. So you can see, just left mouse click and then press delete. Now to add an object, you use the shortcut Shift A, and then we're going to go into mesh and then click on circle, because we're creating this sort of octagon, and circles can be octagons, which is what I'm going to show you. So if we create a circle, we're going to make it into an octagon by going into this add circle bit down in the bottom left. And we're going to just change the vertices to 8, because that's how many vertices octagon has. So there's two modes that you need to know about. One is the object mode, and the second is the edit mode. So there's more modes, obviously there's sculpt mode, etc. But the main two are object and edit mode. They're so important that they've been given its own shortcut key, which is tab. So you can tab into edit mode, tab out of edit mode. And the difference is, in object mode you play around with the objects as a whole, so I can move around the objects, which I will be showing you how to do later. And in edit mode it's more of vertices, so I can change the object. So look at that, that's a weird object. Anyway, let me just delete all of those. Okay, so if we go back into object mode, to move something around, so there's three main things that you need to know in object mode: location, rotation, and scaling. So the first one, location. So how to move around the object. The shortcut is G, which you might have seen in my screencast keys at the bottom. But G moves around the object, and R is to rotate. Some of these are a bit weird, but R is a bit more self-explanatory. S for scaling, also quite self-explanatory. And there's one other last thing that you need to know when we're using these things is that you can snap it to the axis. So we've got a 3D environment, so there'll be three different axes: the Z axis going up and down, Y axis going left to right, and X axis going front to back, I guess. Yeah. And the way we can move or scale along an axis. What I mean by this is that I can move it along the Z axis by going G and Z, so it can move along the Z axis, and it can move along the Y axis, GY, so it's moving along there, and as well you can move along the X axis. This goes for for also scaling and rotating. So for example, I could rotate it along the x-axis, or I could scale it along the x-axis, scale it on the y-axis as well. Basically, you can just snap it to a world axis. So we're gonna just tab into edit mode to create our coffee mug, because right now it's just an octagon that does not look like a coffee mug, and it doesn't even have any structure to it, because if we go into rendered viewport, you can't actually see the object because it's just a line, really. So if we go back into viewport shading, this is called solid mode. We're gonna just click on the object and go tab to edit mode. Now press A to select all, and then press F, which will create a face. So you can see now we've got like a face on a 2D plane. Look, you can see that, right? And there's a few shortcuts. I won't try and explain it too much in detail, but I'll just touch on it briefly when we're making it, so that you can learn what we're doing. So we're just going to press A again to select all, and then do something called insetting using I. So we're just going to press I to inset, and you can see it creates like an extra face, and it just like makes it smaller along this face. So you can, it's almost like a spider web. And we're just going to do it as much as you want the coffee cup. So I want the coffee cup to be that wide, really. So that's how wide it's going to be. Now, another thing that's very important, not just insetting, is extruding. So if we press A to select all, we're gonna go E to extrude, and it's a lot easier to understand a lot of these shortcuts by actually doing it. So if you press E to extrude, you can see I'm actually making it 3D. I'm making depth using this face, and for example, if I was to extrude this bit over here, it makes almost like I don't know, like a robot hand or something. Anyway, let's make that extrude not happen, and we're gonna extrude it now as far as we want. So I think around here is good. This is as far as the mug is gonna be, so it's gonna be like there-ish. And then if you remember, S is to scale, so we're just gonna scale that down so that we've got a mug. And what we're going to do is we're gonna press 3. Now just before you do this, there's 2 different types of numbers for shortcuts in Blender. One is for the number pad, because those do completely different things. And one is for the keypad, which also do completely different things. So just select that and go delete, and then just do only faces. Make sure you're doing this. Okay, there we go. Now we're gonna press 1 on the keypad to go into vertices. So 1 would be vertices, 2 would be edge, and 3 is face. So you can see faces, vertices, and edges, right? And we're going to go into vertices. And what we're going to do now is press 7. Now this is on the number pad. This is a lot to remember, but once you start doing this a lot, it'll be a lot easier to remember. So 7 on the number pad makes us go right at the top. So what we're going to do is just click on 2 of these, which are like to like join for a edge. So we can actually press 2 on the keypad to make it into an edge. So we've got an edge there, and then press Shift and press the edge down there. And then we're going to press F. If you remember, that creates a face. We did that right at the beginning. And we're just going to go round the coffee cup. So it makes it almost look like a spider web again. And we're just going to keep doing that. Again, if you're struggling with any of this, just go back, maybe slow it down, look at what my screencast keys are showing. And here we go. This is our coffee mug. We're going to make this look a bit better by doing something called a loop cut. This loop cut will make like an extra layer. It won't actually change anything you see on the outside, but let me just show you what it does. So if I go Control R, you can see if I click now, we've got a loop cut there, which is shown right here. So if we go back into object mode by tab object mode, we don't actually see anything, but we've added geometry to it. So we're just going to scale this up a bit, just so that we've got like almost, you can see it's like sort of coming out a bit, because that's what the coffee mug would be like, so that's quite good. And we're going to go Control R again, just to do another loop cut, and this time we're going to move it down. So we're going to move it down about there, and then once again Control R and move it up this time. So we're now going to make the handle, but before we do that, we need to make sure this thing is actually in line. So we're going to go R, if you remember, that's to rotate. And as I said, you can snap it. You can snap it to an axis. So Z to snap to an axis. And we're going to go 22.5. But that doesn't really matter because we'll just do 23. So you can see now it's perfectly octagonal along the X and Y axis. So now what we're going to do is make the handle over here. So we're going to 1 on the number pad to go front view. So we can see that's front view. Just to check where we are. So this will be where the handle's coming out from. We're going to tab into edit mode again and press 3. If you remember, we're just going to select this face, and if you remember, I is to inset. So we're going to inset this, and then if you remember, E is to extrude. So we're going to extrude this out, and then press 1. So we're now 1 on the number pad to get back into this front orthographic, which is what it's called. And then we're going to press R to rotate. Make sure you're in the front orthographic, and then we're going to go down. And then if we go back into the 3D view, we're going to scale it down with S. Now what we're going to do is go back into 1, R to rotate, GZ to move on the Z axis. You can just play around with this. Remember, you press G to move, and then you press the axis that you want. Press the axis that you want to move it along. And then we're going to press E, and then we're going to scale that down. Press 1 on the number pad again. Rotate that. And then GZ. X, GZ, E to extrude, S to scale. We can actually scale this back up on the X axis, scale this down on the Y axis so it's more square, and then we're just going to go 1 on the number pad again, and we're going to rotate this, GX, GZ, rotate, and then we're going to go E to extrude, S, and then S just to scale up. And then what we're going to do is just press 1 just to do this. You don't need to do this. This is just me editing it. Oh, didn't mean to do that. There we go. Just scale this back down because I don't really like it like that. So there we go. We've got the partial hand because I don't really like it like that. So there we go. We've got the partial handle. You could keep it like this because there's some handles like that. I don't know. But we're going to do a full handle. Go back 1. And then this is something called X-ray mode, which is what I call it. I don't know if that's the proper term for it, but we're going to go Alt Z to go into X-ray mode, and then just to get those vertices. We're going to rotate that, GX, GZ. So, and then we're going to extrude, just continue doing this, and do what you want to it. So for those who have just come into my channel just now, my channel is actually a PowerPoint channel, but I will be doing Blender tutorials every week now on Wednesdays, and just doing PowerPoint tutorials Mondays and Fridays if I can keep that up. And we're going to just rotate that, E to extrude. So if you either use Blender or PowerPoint, you can also subscribe to my channel because I will be doing both the types of tutorial. And if you've never used PowerPoint before, which you probably have, but you might not have, you can have a look at some of my tutorials for some cool animations, not just in Blender, but in PowerPoint as well. And we've almost finished this. We're just going to scale it up, and there we go. There is our finished. You may be asking, where's the coffee? We haven't made the coffee yet, so let's make the coffee. So we're going to tab back into edit mode, go Control R to make a loop cut. This time it's going to be on the inside, and move up to wherever you want the coffee, and I want it around maybe there. I'm going to press F, and there we go, there's our face. And there we go, there's our face. But right now we've just got a mesh, an object, so if we went into rendered viewport, which is just right here, the rendered shading, it doesn't actually have any material to it, so let's add some materials. So we're just going to go into this material properties down here, and we're just going to press new, SDF for the normal shading, and we're just going to change the base color, just slightly make it a bit grayer, just for the mug. And we're just going to change the roughness to 0.2 because I don't think coffee mugs are that rough. It's quite self-explanatory, a lot of this. There are some things that you might not get, like anisotropic things and sheen, I don't know. But mainly you just change the base color, and you might add some subsurface, which I will explain in future more advanced Blender tutorials. But right now we're sticking to low poly, very simple editing. So we're just gonna keep it everything like that apart from the roughness. But now, you may be asking, you might not, but anyway, the coffee is white, so that's not good unless you're having like some weird kind of coffee. We're gonna change it to brown. So we're gonna just tab back into edit mode, and we're gonna create a new material as well. Press new, just press the add there and press new. And then we're going to change the base color to orange, which might seem like a weird coffee color until we darken it, and then it becomes brown. Wow. There we go. There's our coffee color. But again, if we tab out, look, there's no brown to it. So let's assign this material to it. So we're going to tab into edit mode, press 3 to face select, and we're just going to select that face. Now we're going to go into material 2 and press assign. So there we go. Now we've got if we go back into rendered viewport here, we've got a nice deep brown head. So let's make it a bit more like that. It's a bit better. Okay, we can actually make this even more. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so there we go. This is our mug, and we're just going to change some of the lighting right now. We're just going to press on this light. I said that we're going to the lighting right now. We're just going to press on this light. I said that we're going to edit it, so let's do that. So press on the light and then go into this light tab down here. So it's called Object Data Properties, but I just remember it as the light place. And we're just going to change it to a sun, and it's going to be really bright because it's 1000 strength, which is way too high for the sun. And we're just going to move GX, if you remember, that's going to move it along the x-axis. And there we go, we're just going to move it so that it's in a good place. Go GY, and then just move this again. And just make sure it's in a good place. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And there we go, this is our coffee mug in a good place. And you can press O on the number pad, the big O on the number pad, to go into camera view, so you can see this is what the camera is seeing. And right now our coffee mug looks really good, and in the next tutorial next week hopefully we're going to make the steam and animate both the mug and the steam to spin, but they're going to spin at different rates, which you probably saw in the intro. Anyway, this was probably hopefully a good tutorial just to introduce you to Blender and a proficient Blender user. It's just something for fun, just make some low poly mugs. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you came here just for learning how to use Blender, make sure to check out some of my PowerPoint tutorials just for other types of animation, a lot of 2D text animations. And I will be making more Blender tutorials in the future, so if you're just a Blender user, also subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of those. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.